The Sabres lose a couple of games over the weekend to close up the road schedule. One small positive maybe to take away from that, though, is that they showed that they are willing to stand up for each other, unlike in the middle of the season. We'll get to that coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into this Monday edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast, and thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on YouTube, where you can like and subscribe the show there as you watch us, and be sure to hit us up on our text club, joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSabres, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Sneaky Joe DiBiase, following a couple of losses, we enter the final week of the regular season, and then we hit off-season mode here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Lots on trade potential this offseason and what it comes to free agency and who's available and who the Sabres have to get signed and what those contracts will look like. Well, there's a lot to get to after Thursday, when we will also have locker room cleanout, and we'll have reaction to that. So a lot to get to coming up in the next couple of days and weeks here on the podcast, as the NHL playoffs will start as well. And just to kind of set the table here for what you're going to get after the next couple of games, not only all of that, but the Rochester Americans and their playoff run. I plan to be watching as many of those games as possible. I've already been looking into the AHL.TVs and all of those streaming platforms that you can get for the Amerks. I plan to go to a couple of games. I'm super excited for the Amerks, who, by the way, have 3 games remaining in their regular season and nothing left to play for. So those final 3 games, they can't get first in their division. Laval has clinched that. They can't drop the number 3. They're going to be number 2. So we're just kind of waiting until the playoffs, which is going to be next week, I believe, in the AHL. Kulich will go back, and so will a couple of other guys. So a lot to get to on that front. But we still have some games to react to and takeaways from these couple of games we have remaining for the Buffalo Sabres. And if you want to get your thoughts in on anything Sabre related, of course, I mentioned our text club, but also he can hit us up on Twitter, at Sneaky Joe Sports for me, on Twitter, at Sneaky Joe, period, on Blue Sky, and then at Locked On Sabres. And you can vote in our Locked On Sabres favorite fan bracket as we continue that, trying to find the favorite Sabre of all time. And I think I have a good idea of who's going to win this thing, but you could prove me wrong if you want. Vote for your favorite Sabre there. That's at Locked On Sabres. Lot to get to on today's show. We'll get to some of what happened in these games, some injury stuff, because that's a big question right now with Owen Power and others. But I do want to lead off with the Panther game from Saturday. I think infinitely more interesting than the Sunday game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that was good for me as a big golf fan. Wear my golf attire today. The Masters final round on Sunday was unbelievable. It was incredible. And the Sabres having the second screen, they didn't really capture your attention too much. You'd check in between shots, you'd check in during commercials, and they were getting pummeled for stretches. That didn't happen until a little bit later on the scoreboard. So I do have some takeaways, though, from the Tampa game, of course, from Sunday as well. But to me, the more interesting game of the weekend is the Florida game. So let's get into a couple of things from this Florida Panther game, including one positive takeaway about the Sabres' reaction on a big hit to one of their important players. We'll get to that. But a couple of takeaways that I had from this game against Florida. And I got fired up. I got into it. Standings don't matter, right? We can look at the Tankathon standings, but I'm not really super invested in that right now. So a couple of things that I liked and didn't like from this game. A lot that I did like, though. And I want to start with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, because I've been very hard on him, and a lot of people have been. I mean, rightfully so. It's justified. He's been bad for months now, and really it's been the entirety of the season, or almost the entirety of the season. So Luukkonen comes into that game, starts against Florida. Reimer had been playing for most of the recent stretch of the season, And Luukkonen plays really well. 32 saves on 34 shots is everything you would ask for him. Only allowed the 2 goals, third in the shootout. He only allowed 1 in the shootout. Thought he made some good saves. Actually, kind of happened right away, too. That penalty kill sequence about 7-8 minutes in to the first period, where he sprawls across with his left, makes a pad save, makes another save after that. There was a series of them right then and there. There were other stretches in the game. He made a couple of big saves in overtime. I thought Luukkonen looked sharp. And that Panther team is very talented. They're not really playing a lot of their guys. That is more of a just get us to the garage type of team, get us to the playoffs, as Florida is kind of locked into that 3rd spot in the Atlantic Division. So they had some of their guys, but not all of them, and how motivated were they. I'm not trying to take too much credit away from Luukkonen. I thought he was sharp. And that's been pretty few and far between for him as of late. The goal that Rasmus Dahlin scores, the give and go on the power play with Jason Zucker, is an awesome goal. And Dahlin now, 17 goals on the season. He's got 4 goals in his last 7 games. And I've mentioned this about Dahlin recently, about when talking about Owen Power, that Dahlin deserves a lot of credit for a lot of things he's gotten better at in his game. One thing that he's gotten way better at is his shot. It was the weak point of his game before the last couple of years. When he showed up in the league, year 1, year 2, year 3, no weight on his stick at all, fanning on pucks a lot, not really that dangerous when it came to the one-timer. And listen, Saturday's goal, it's a tap-in, right? Like, he does put some weight on it, but the goalie's out of position because Zucker and him are coming in on the 2-on-1, and the pass gets across. He's got a whole net to shoot at. It's not really the goal to make this point because anybody could score it. But Dahlin is a better goal scorer than he was early in his career. And much of that is due to his improved shot. And he now has 52 goals in the last 3 seasons in the NHL. That is the second most in the NHL of any defenseman. The only defenseman with more goals in the last 3 years than Dahlin is Cale Makar, who is far and away the best offensive defenseman in hockey. I think he's best defenseman in hockey far and away. And he now has 68 goals in his last 3 years. So it's like, it's Makar and then a giant gap, and then Dahlin leads the rest of the pack. I think Roman Josi is right behind him with 50. So Dahlin is better than everybody else at scoring goals in the last 3 years at his position, except for that one guy, because Makar is, again, amazing. So stat stuff is stuff to look at down the stretch here. Peterka got the game-tying goal against Florida. Good thing he did, too, because that 5-on-3 drove me crazy if you were watching the game. And this is right after you get some scrums, and AJ Greer goes after Dahlin for I don't even know what reason, other than, I mean, Dahlin pisses off opponents, so that probably was a big reason. AJ Greer goes after him. He takes a swing at Dahlin, and after all that, the Sabres end up with a power play and then a 5-on-3. So the 5-on-3 is happening, and it's terrible. Like, the Sabres aren't generating any chances. They look a little too casual with the puck. They're not really getting the puck into scoring areas. So a pretty terrible 5-on-3. And then as it's expiring, Dahlin, who had a great shot right before that was saved with the blocker, he feeds it down low. Bad angle by JJ Peterka. It's honestly not a great shot for a 5-on-3. Like, he doesn't have a great angle, but he's able to finish. And that kind of saved the day from an otherwise terrible power play, tied the game late. There were only less than 8 minutes left at that point in time. Now you look up at Peterka's stats, and it's kind of amazing he only has 26 goals. It does feel like he has more to me. It's the points, though, that he's really taken a big step up. So Peterka with that goal, and then he added an assist against Tampa. He's now up to 66 points on the year. That's a nice step up from 50 last year. So while the goal totals come down just a hair, the assist total has gone up a lot. And with that, the point total, of course, as well. Now, The thing I really want to talk about, though, from this game, the biggest positive. Sabres losing the shootout, by the way. It sounds like a win. They played well. The overtime was really fun. They end up losing the shootout, whatever. The best thing to come out of this game and the best thing to come out of this weekend, although to me it's not a surprising thing, is the response to one of their rookies getting hit over the middle with what I personally thought was a dirty hit. And let's start there with the hit that was put on by Florida Panther forward Jonah Gadjevich, who I thought should have had a 5-minute major on the play. They originally called a 5-minute major. That might have just been so they could review it, though. They end up not giving him any penalty whatsoever. Now, here's my problem with the hit. Gadjevich on Kulich. The first problem is not Gadjevich's fault. The rest will be. But the first part is Jack Quinn. That's a hospital pass. That's a hospital pass to your rookie teammate in Jiri Kulich. That soft pass up the middle when there's a Panther there that is very likely to step up and make that hit. And Quinn feeds him that puck, and he puts Kulich in harm's way. And then the player, Gadjevich, he was early to this hit. He should have pulled up, or he should have delayed it. Whatever. It's not a problem that he went for the hit. It's there. It's a hit that is there to be made, a big open ice hit. But you missed it. And when you miss the timing on it, that's got to be a penalty in today's NHL. He's a hair early, but he is early. And I don't care what the ref said. I watched every angle of that thing. Kulich does not touch the puck. He especially does not touch the puck first. And to me, that's the important thing here, is that Gadjevich is not making a hockey play because the puck is coming to him. He touches it. Gadjevich touches it. If he doesn't go to hit Kulich, the puck is his. It's a turnover. And he could either put it back the other way, he could dump it in, whatever. He has stolen the puck. But his eyes are nowhere near the puck. And that, to me, is what will make this a penalty. The intent to injure and not making a hockey play, not looking to play the puck, should make this a penalty. I don't know how you can argue he's trying to make a hockey play, because he is the possessor of the puck more than Kulich is, and yet he wants to deliver this hit. And Kulich never touches it. So it should be interference. However you look at it, it should be intent to injure. That is what he did, and that should have been penalized. Now, beyond that, I really like the Sabres' response. Zach Benson flying in and grabbing him immediately. Rasmus Dahlin coming in as the cavalry, and he did a little bit more damage, I think, once they were along the ice. So Benson and Dahlin come in, and they do the job. They rough him up. Then, the next time there's an opportunity, Gadjevich is on the ice. Alex Tuch challenges him before faceoff, and they drop the gloves. And Tuch does, I think, fairly well fighting a guy that's pretty big and, a little bit more physical than he is. So Tuch does a good job. This is, though, where I don't want to give them... Well, I do want to give them credit, but I want to stay consistent on this. If you can hit the rewind button to some of our episodes, and if you're an avid listener, you can think back to the last couple of months, right after the days and the weeks leading up, or coming after, when Tage Thompson got hit against New Jersey and nobody did anything about it. One thing that I said repeatedly was, I don't think this is an overall team problem as much as this is a Matthias Samuelsson, Owen Power problem. Those are the two guys that you need to stare at. And number one, Samuelsson on that front. That those are the guys that need to be looked at for this. Not everybody else. Because as I pointed out, you've got countless times over the years where Rasmus Dahlin doesn't have to think. TJ Oshie last year, or 2 years ago. There have been others too. Actually, no, the Oshie thing was last year where Dahlin dropped him after he hit Tage Thompson along the boards late. Dahlin always stands up for teammates. Never has to think about it. And he was the first one that said after that New Jersey game that can never happen again. Because Dahlin doesn't do that, and Dahlin doesn't stand for that. Zach Benson. When have you ever seen Zach Benson to not be a willing participant? And he's the smallest guy on the ice. He actually, if you screenshot when the hit is made, there are only two Sabres in the frame. Bo Byram and Jack Quinn, who made the pass. But Benson, at his age and his size, flies by his two teammates in between them to get at Gadjevich first. So Benson, I have no question about for that. And Tuch. Tuch's fought guys before. Tuch defended teammates countless times. I've never had questions about him. So to me, this is just more evidence that the defending teammates problem that the Buffalo Sabres had was only about two players. It was about Samuelson for the most part, and it was also about Owen Power. It's not about the core members of this team. It's not about the most important players, and it's not about their young guy, Zach Benson. All of those guys, Tage Thompson too, those guys answer the bell whenever called upon, and this is more evidence that they don't have to think about it. They fly right in and they do it. You want to criticize Jack Quinn and Bo Byram for not getting in there? You want to criticize Connor Clifton for not fighting Gadjevich and making Tuch do it? I guess you could do that, but their most important players, they do the job. Samuelson, no. Power, I'm holding out hope that Power will get there, and he gives you enough value otherwise, which makes it different than Samuelson for me. So I like the Sabres' response a lot in this game against Florida. When we come back, a couple of thoughts about the Tampa Bay game, and then I've got a take on the NHL playoffs as we are very close here. This is the final week, only a couple of days left before we get to the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's coming up here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help your business take it to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. So posting a job is free and simple within a day. Multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. So if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. Visit Upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. That's Upwork, Upwork.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. The Sabres fall 3-2 to Florida on Saturday. Then they finish up their road schedule on the season with a 7-4 loss against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and it was a very bad game. So one other thing that I didn't mention in the first segment that happens against Florida, Owen Power goes down with a knee injury. At least it looked like a knee injury. They're calling it lower body. And it didn't look good. His knee kind of gets bent backwards the wrong way as two players are falling on it, and it goes the wrong. It's a gross looking injury. It's not like the grossest injury you've ever seen in sports, but it's not a good looking injury. And Lindy Ruff says that Power is going to be out a while, which obviously means the rest of the season. How much longer than that? We don't really know. Now, why that's important, even though there's only 2 games left in the season, and why this kind of sucks that he has this injury, and why I hope it's not as bad as it looked, because I don't know that they'll tell us. I bet they will. We'll get to the end of the year, and maybe Kevin Adams will tell us, or Lindy Ruff, or maybe even Power, about what his actual injury is. Because if it's the ACL, or if it's like beyond that, different ligament damage, if it's a fracture of some sort, whatever it is, not the guy that you want to be taking away days in his offseason from. Lindy Ruff, Kevin Adams, talking about the players and what they need. Last Blue and Gold Insights meeting that they had with the season ticket holders at the arena, they said they want the players to come back into training camp in elite shape, elite top-tier shape. And the first guy I thought of, or one of the first guys, Benson might have been the first guy, one of the top 2 guys I thought of was Owen Power. Because this offseason is going to be a lot about Power, building up strength, being in the weight room, and coming back with a different body type. And if he's got a serious knee injury now or serious leg injury, how much time will he have to do that? Because, just speculating here, completely, hypothetical. If he's going to miss, I don't know, 3 months with whatever this injury is, 4 months, and he can't get back to doing, full workouts and full strength and trusting the knee or the leg until like July or August. I mean, he might only have a month or two before the year, and it could really interrupt, I think, what the plan was for him this offseason. So I'm hoping it's not that bad and that it might just be a couple of week thing, but we'll see if we get more details on that in the next couple of days. So Power then leaves that Florida game. He doesn't play against Tampa, and it looked like it. One thing that I saw a couple of people on Sabres Twitter, Chad Dieteminis was one of them, that had this take that, man, this blue line, when you take either Rasmus Dahlin or Owen Power off it, becomes a bad blue line pretty quickly. And it's right. You look at some of their worst games defensively on the year, and it's when they're missing one of those two. And in this game against the Lightning, a lot of bad giveaways. I mean, the Ryan McLeod giveaway to Nikita Kucherov is one of the worst giveaways on the season. It immediately ends up in the back of the Sabres net. The Sabres in this game gave up to the Lightning 6 even strength goals, 6 5-on-5 goals. That's the most they've allowed in a game all year long. The Sabres allowed 4.65 expected goals against. That's the most in a season. So that kind of tells you that the final goal total matched the expected number. Most allowed in a year at 5-on-5 and the most expected allowed in a year all year long. Some of the other ones, like 66 shot attempts in the game. That was the 5th most the Sabres allowed in a game at 5-on-5. 35 scoring chances against. That was the 5th most. It was one of their worst defensive games of the year. And Power's not even known as like a defensive defenseman. But this goes in line with a take that I always have about defensemen, that it's more valuable to have a guy that has the puck more and isn't as good a defender as a guy that is a good defender that has to defend more often. Owen Power might not be the best defender in the world, but when you take him off the ice, that's 4 or 5 minutes, maybe a game, now that you're defending, that you weren't when Power was playing. And that makes a difference. That makes a big difference. So in this game, on the overall, I mean, the second period is one of their worst periods of the entire season. They allow 4 in that one, including that McLeod turnover to Kucherov that I mentioned. Reimer, I mean, he kind of did the best he could. He had a couple of goals. Maybe he wants back too, but for the most part, it was just an overall bad team effort by the Sabres. Now, the Lightning are playing for something. The Lightning are still fighting for that division, and that's not dead yet. The Leafs only need one more point, but it's not over. And the difference between playing Florida in the first round and Ottawa in the first round is a big difference. So that's, I think, why Tampa was going so hard after this one. They win the game. They look like the better team by far from what I saw. And I saw most of the game. I was watching both at the same time, that and the Masters. Not a game the Sabres had any business winning. And my number one takeaway was, look what they look like when Owen Power is not playing 23 minutes and someone else is playing those minutes. He makes an impact. He makes a big impact. When we come back, I got a take on the NHL playoffs and a play-in tournament. That when we return. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. I'm a big golfer, and I'm trying to eat healthier this year. And, when you're out on the course, sometimes you need to pick me up. Sometimes you get hungry, and there's nothing around. Obviously, you just got to go with whatever you packed. Easily my number one snack choice when I'm out on the golf course is pistachios. The perfect grab-and-go snack. I like the no nut or the no shell ease of that. That's what I go for. So if you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios, one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keeping you feeling fuller a lot longer. So I go for the no shells. You get that grab and go. But if you like the shells, that's also available to you. The fact that Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids while I get a salty snack, it's perfect. Get snacking, get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, wrapping things up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast with a take about the NHL playoffs. I'm looking at the NHL playoffs and some of the format stuff a lot, but we'll get to that in just one moment here on the Locked On Sabres. Just want to give you a quick reminder that Buffalo business, it is time to register for the JP Morgan Corporate Challenge. This year's event, Thursday, June 12th, features a 3.5-mile course through Delaware Park, followed by a celebration with a DJ, lawn games, and a tented experience for you and your teammates. Walkers, joggers, and runners are all welcome. So whether you run for the love of it, for your company, or to build lasting bonds, this is your moment. Teams of 4 participants or more can register today. Registration will close on May 13th. Don't wait around. It's less than a month away. Get in on now. Get on it now. 1 part run, 1 part party. The Corporate Challenge has earned its reputation as Buffalo's corporate social event of the year. So join us for some great competition, teamwork, company pride, and a true sense of accomplishment. Go to jpmorganchasecc.com and choose Buffalo as your location. Start your registration today. See you on the course. Back here on Locked On Sabres. So, as I mentioned, the NHL playoffs. The format this year has hurt it a little bit. Saw this take from Pierre LeBrun and a couple others, that the Metropolitan Division, Washington, Carolina, New Jersey, they're all limping to the finish line. Not in an injury sense, in like an effort sense. None of them really have shown any care for weeks. Washington for the Ovechkin chase, but that's about it. The Hurricanes, the Devils, those 3 teams have all known their standing since like the beginning of March. They've all known Washington's going to win the division, Carolina's going to be the number 2 seed, and the Devils, especially after they lost Jack Hughes, the Devils were going to be the 3 seed. So there's not really anything on the line for any of those 3. And, you know, like, to me, there are a couple of very simple fixes to the way the East that they do their formats. You're going to have top teams playing each other again this year. That happens all the time in the NHL. Way too often, right? You've had years where the 3 plays the 5 and whatnot. If you look right now, the biggest case of that this year will be Dallas and Colorado. And I think actually they've been 2 of these teams before. That Dallas is right now the 4th best team in the entire NHL for points on the year with 106, and Colorado is 6th. So 16 teams making the playoffs. You've got 4 playing 6. That shouldn't happen. And it happens because of their format. It's wonky. For me, every year this comes up. Every year it's time of year to make your playoff takes, right? Not just for who's going to win, but what you want the playoff format to be. And I don't like their format at all. I love 1 versus 8. I would go back to 1 versus... I mean, really, my number 1 idea is 1 versus 16. But I'm realistic to know they'll never do that because of travel, right? That's the biggest reason. You're adding a lot of travel if you do 1 versus 16 and you were to have like a Florida-Vancouver series in round 1 or something. So that, to me, is an easy one to go back to 1 versus 8. The other one is what the NBA does, and that starts tomorrow. The NBA play-in tournament. Yearly. It's an annual take of mine. Like, I want to see them go to a play-in tournament. And here's my current thoughts on that. I bet you, within a couple of years, the NHL is going to do some version of the NBA's play-in tournament. If you don't know what the NBA's play-in tournament is, 1 through 6, you get in. 7 through 10, you qualify of the conference, 7 through 10, you qualify for the play-in tournament. 7 plays 8. The winner of that is in. The loser of that has 1 more chance. Then 9 plays 10. The loser of 9 versus 10, you're out. Have a nice summer. The winner of 9 versus 10 plays the loser of 7 versus 8, and the winner of that game is the final playoff team. It's a perfect format. It incentivizes being the 7 or the 8 while still giving the 9 or the 10 a chance, but not as good of a chance. It's perfect. The NHL, in my opinion, the only reason you won't see them do the exact same thing is they don't like playing copycat. They don't want to do the exact same thing because the NBA got to it first. And I think that's dumb. I think it's the worst reason imaginable to pass on a playoff format that, especially for your sport, is perfect. You would have an additional 6 games of revenue and excitement, TV broadcasts. It would all be awesome. I bet you within a couple of years, though, they're going to do some version of it. They're going to do something. They're going to change it. I don't know how they'll change it. Maybe they'll just do 7 versus 10, 8 versus 9. Both the 2 winners get in. They'll kind of change the weight of it and the incentive to be the 7 or the 8. They'll play around with that. I don't know what the little change will be. That to me would be a very NHL thing to do, though, is, we're going to do a play-in, but we've got our own play-in, and this is why it's better. We're differentiating ourselves. This is why it's better than the NBA's. I don't think you can do better than the NBA's. I bet you they're going to try to, and it'll be worse. But even in saying that, I'd rather them do a version of the play-in that's worse than do nothing. I think a play-in would be cool. For Sabre fans that are wondering, 2 years ago, had there been a play-in tournament, the Sabres would have been involved. They missed the playoffs by 1 point. They would have been the 10 seed. So, had the NHL had the exact same playoff format as the NBA, 2 years ago, 7 New York Islanders would have played 8 Florida Panthers. Winner of that game would have gone in. 9 Pittsburgh Penguins would have hosted 10 seed Buffalo Sabres. The winner of that game would have played the loser of Islanders Panthers. Sabre, even if it was on the road, which kind of stinks, but Sabres at Penguins, and then if they had won that game, Sabres at Islanders to go to the postseason would have been the 2 most important games the Buffalo Sabres have had in 12 years. And the NHL just chooses not to have that. And I think it's stupid. I think they should. You see another league where it is successful, and you should take a page out of their book, and you should just do it. All right, that's going to do it for us today on Locked On Sabres. Tomorrow, Sabres host the Maple Leafs for their second to last home game of the year. Toronto Tuesday, Philadelphia Thursday. It's an important game for Toronto. They could do something they almost never do. I'll have some historic facts on that tomorrow and how their season's gone. The Leafs have never win the division, and they have a chance to tomorrow night in Buffalo. So we'll talk about that matchup, comparing those teams going forward, and we'll talk a little bit about Toronto's offseason upcoming and Mitch Marner, because it's a pipe dream. Sometimes a pipe dream pays off, though. So a little bit of that, too, tomorrow. So come back for that. Be sure to check us out. You got a thought on anything? Join subtext.com/LockedOnSabres to sign up for our Locked On Sabres text club. If you're looking for more playoff talk as we head into the final week of the regular season, be sure to check out a new Locked On NHL tonight. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national stage. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We'll talk to you tomorrow here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.